Therefore do not fear them, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Fear rather him who can lose both soul and body in hell. Are not two sparrows sold for a penny? And yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hair of your head are all counted. Therefore, do not fear. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before people, I also will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before people, I also will deny before my Father in heaven. Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection, Gospel reading from the Gospel according to Matthew, chapter 10, verses 26 up to 33. I entitled it, Do Not Fear People. The Gospel reading for the 12th Sunday in ordinary year, under ordinary time, year A. I have already read the entire passage at the beginning. It opens with the statement, Therefore do not fear them. This statement already sends us to what precedes in order to clarify who are understood by this term, them. So let us see the literal context. We could extend to the entire chapter 10 of the Gospel according to Matthew, but I just chose limited verses starting from verse 16 and going up to verse 39. Those two texts which surround our passage, the one which precedes begins with the statement, See, I'm sending you out like sheep into the midst of wolves. And similar statement we find in the text which follows. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. Those two statements describe the hostile environment, and this hostile environment is in a family setup, as we read in verse 21. Brother will betray brother to death, and a father his child, and children will raise against parents and have them put to death. And similarly in verse 35, For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And there is also a verb hated. You will be hated by all because of my name. And this environment is also spelled out at the end of verse 25, those of his household. And similarly, the same verb, but now translated as foes, we find in verse 36. And one's foes will be members of one's own household. So rejection of Jesus leads also rejection to those who believe, those who follow Jesus, and even it splits and consequently the families, because those who reject Jesus will also reject and will be against those family members who converted to Christianity. So therefore, in such a negative, hostile environment, we can understand why now in this text, which is also a central text, in this teaching about the discipleship, 3 times is the same expression, do not fear, in referring to not fear other people, and once in positive sense, referring to God, rather fear him who can lose both soul and body in hell. So this literal context shows us that our text as encouraging character. Jesus is stressing that his disciples should not fear in spite of hostile environment, should not fear other people, do not fear them. And then also it is illustrated by the image, the metaphor of sparrows, that his disciples are more important, more worthy, therefore they should not fear anything. However, rather they should fear God himself, because he can lose their body and soul. And then there is the stress of this need now to announce the gospel, as we read in verse 26, firstly, in quite enigmatic way. For nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known, because it's spelled out in the following verse. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. So the disciples should just proclaim the gospel, and it matches with then verse 32. Everyone who acknowledges me before people. We could conclude with just reference to another text from the same gospel earlier in chapter 5, when we find the metaphor of the light, that the disciples are the light of the world, and by doing good works, people will see their good works and they will glorify the Father in heaven. I would like to wish you a nice day, a nice reflection on this gospel reading. God bless you.